I'm Edward Warfield, the publisher of Citybiz, and I'm honored today to interview David Braun, the founder and CEO of Capstone Strategic. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Edwin. Pleasure to be with you today. I appreciate the invitation.
Can you provide an introduction to Capstone Strategic and the services that you provide?
Sure. Let me give you a kind of a quick snapshot. I started the company 27 years ago, really with one concept in mind, and that's to help companies to grow, primarily through external means, acquisitions, joint ventures, strategic alliances, minority investments. But the reason I got into this business, to put a little bit of this into perspective, I had started my career out doing boutique investment banking, and much of it was helping European, in particular UK companies, in particular public ones, find investments in the US. And then I had gotten recruited to go work for a fast growing company here in the Washington, D.C. area that wanted some in house skills. And one of the things that I saw was I didn't really like the model. You know, the traditional investment banking model is very transaction oriented. It's very, let's get the deal done kind of focus, which is an important part of the process. And then on the consulting side, what I saw was, hey, let's make sure that we can keep this project going and kind of stretch things out and make it go as long as we can. And I didn't really like either one of those models in terms of how they worked. I didn't really like how they even got compensated. And so I really wanted to create a bit of a hybrid. And my concept was really how do we help companies that are really thinking about growth? In many cases, I call them stuck. It's not that they're going out of business, but they want to get to a different level. They're trying to go in perhaps a faster or bigger markets. And so I wanted this hybrid model where, we're half investment banking and half consulting. And so to think about it from an architectural standpoint, we start with really saying, hey, what's the strategic blueprint? What is it we're really trying to create here? Because what I have found is you can talk in platitudes and high level thinking about where you're trying to go. But until you get down to a blueprint of detail, whether you're buying or selling, quite frankly, I think it's really tough to have a likelihood of success on your transaction. So that's really what I try to do was marry those two together and really bring that whole strategic growth concept to our clients.
And can you highlight some of your recent transactions or deals that you've been involved in?
Sure, yeah, and it's interesting because one of the things that I'm very proud of is the fact that we have been very focused on not being particularly industry focused. Doesn't mean we haven't done more work in some industries over others. But let me just give you kind of an example of the kind of work that we do and some of the things that we've done here recently. One would be kind of on one end of the spectrum, we've done work in things like gene therapy, which is very top of mind right now, where people are looking for the R&D capabilities, they're looking for the manufacturing capabilities. And so we've been working on several cross-border transactions in the gene therapy space. Also think about food supplements and the importance of, things like vitamins and other types of nutritional food supplements that people are and frankly, COVID really kind of helped highlight that. So we've been working and successful at finding opportunities to put together companies, and again, interestingly enough, international. Also been doing work in the financial space, both credit unions and CUSOs has been an area that we've been helping to put together transactions. A lot of it's around technology. And how do we bring more embedded technology into our members, so that they can have a better experience. And then I'm going to go way out on another end of the spectrum just to give you kind of a contrast. And we've done work recently in the death care space. So think about cemeteries, crematories, and it goes in that order, I guess. But and also memorials, things that go into the whole death care space, things like urns and memorials and monuments and things of that nature. So, we work in a wide variety of things and industries, and that's one of the things that, we really try to bring to the conversation is the variety of experiences and ideas, because as I like to say, our job is to help you to implement your dreams, and it's not about helping to drink your Kool-Aid. So I just want to give you a little bit of a range of the kinds of things that we've been involved in, and each of those has kind of different aspects to it and different potentials from an industry standpoint.
And who are the other members of the Capstone team?
So we've got a nice rounded group of folks. So my right-hand person is John Deering, who's our managing director. I've been with Capstone now over 26 years. And then we've got three functional heads. We've got Matt Kraft, who's a vice president, also leads our due diligence practice. Edelweiss Harrison, also a vice president, leads our strategy practice. And Anna Kochkina is our person that leads our valuation work. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is that these are not only first-class talented professionals, but they've been with Capstone for many years. And I mentioned John, but others have been with us for over a dozen years, and that's something I'm also very proud of. And I tell people when we bring them on board, we expect you to retire from Capstone. So when you make a commitment to come on board, we're thinking of you as someone that's going to continue to be part of the team for the long haul.
And so, what is the state of middle market M&A?
Good question. And I would say it's varied. So I've been getting a lot of questions about this from lots of people, as you can imagine, trying to figure out what's going on. If you look at the industry stats, the market for the first half of this year is down close to 30%. But you have to kind of pick away at that a little bit. So let me explain that and provide a little bit of color on that. First of all, last year, 2021, was a record year of all time. So in terms of volume as well as deal value. So we have to keep that in mind that last year was an incredibly busy year. And I can just tell you from the professionals in this industry, part of the first part of this year was catching their breath and just kind of digesting what had happened, in 2021. The other part to keep in mind is that there's been a bit of a pause, not just from catching your breath, but also because of the rapid change in the economics and kind of the macroeconomic environment. Things like inflation, rising interest rates, the Ukrainian war, labor shortages. We're still having supply chain challenges. So all of those things have really come together to put a bit of a pause for many people to say, hey, where are things going and how should we be, really thinking about this going forward? What kinds of impacts is this going to have on our business? Now, that's a little bit of where we are. Let me tell you a little bit about where I think we're headed, in particular for the rest of this year and for 2023. What we're seeing is a growing pipeline, both on the buy side as well as the sell side, where companies I think have really recognized that organic growth is really challenging. We still have an environment where we've got record amounts of cash, and so what do we do with all this cash and do it in a productive way for investing in future growth for companies? But we also have an environment where the demographics are playing a part. As I like to say, the parents are going to get involved at some point, Mother Nature and Father Time. And what do I mean by that is we've got a lot of owners. We went through a major transition of ownership going from World War II to baby boomers. Now we're going from baby boomers to whom? Many of these baby boomers don't have children that are interested in taking over the family business. And so one of the challenges is this whole kind of succession planning. And what do we do? Do we do an MBO? Do we do an ESOP to keep it, in the company? Do we sell, shut down? We're seeing orderly wind downs as they're called. We just kind of keep getting smaller. But many of these companies have now recognized that they've gotten through the pandemic and they got through the 08-09 financial crisis, and now they're in their late 60s. When do I sell? When is the right time? And so I think many companies are now recognizing that they need to start getting kind of things in order. And then on the buy side, companies are recognizing, again, those challenges with organic growth. And so they want to complement or supplement the things that they're doing themselves. But they can really bring in some strategic value with some of these potential acquisitions for the business. So I would say middle market M&A has gone through a bit of a pause the first half. We expect that to change and increase for the second half and going into also 2023.
So I spent a little time on your website, and I saw you have a section that talks about your MNA University. So what is your MNAU, and when did it start, and where is it today?
They say that necessity is the mother of all invention. And I had, a number of years ago, I had a number of folks ask me, how do I get more information on this? Because a lot of things that have been written in the M&A space, tend to be very focused on valuation, financial kinds of things, valuation, or legal, deal structuring, an asset deal versus a stock deal or due diligence. But there isn't anything that really kind of encompasses that, which is one of the reasons why I wrote my book. But people said, I want more. I want to be able to know more about, what's going on now and how do I go about doing this. And so we started probably about 15 years ago, MNAU, and the whole idea is to create a learning environment for people to be able to come to this series, and we do it once a month. Sometimes we'll add some special ones that, given what may be going on in the industry at the time, and it's a way for people to learn about each of these pieces, but we kind of break it down. So every month is a different topic. One month might be strategy. Another month might be contacting potential companies that you might be interested in investing in. One month might be about legal structuring. One month might be about tax. So it's all of the pieces, but it's broken down, and it's a way for them to hear it and ask questions and learn more. And then we're accredited by the National Association of State Board of Accountancy, so we issue CPE credits. But if they complete the program, then we also issue MNAU certifications. And so, again, we want to create an environment where people can continue to learn and share ideas and bounce ideas off of each other in terms of things that they're doing and what other best practices there may be that are other people have had success with. So that's the real concept behind MNAU.
And I guess as part of that, I saw one of your columns you wrote is talking about what are the top sort of due diligence items in the age of COVID-19. Can you share those?
Yeah. So it's interesting. We've been continuing to be successful even through COVID in terms of, getting transactions completed, both on the buy side as well as the sell side. But it's been different. One of the first challenges is in some cases, it's still really tough to get a team of people on site. Traditional due diligence, you come on site, you meet the people, you get to get exposure to walking around and seeing files and things like that. And of course, we have virtual data rooms now that have been around for a long time, but you lose some of that kind of firsthand knowledge. So part of it is how do we really make sure that we're integrating the whole due diligence team in a way that's respectful of what's going on and people's protocols and things of that nature. But some of the key things that in particular have been coming out as a result of some of those kind of gyrations and limitations, I would say first of all would be revenues. And there's a couple pieces to that. One is, do you have audited financial statements? How are you handling revenue recognition? Is it really revenue, or do you really have sales there? The other part of it though is well, are these normal revenues? Because some companies had pretty big drops, some companies had pretty big increases as a result of COVID. Well, what's going to be normal going forward? I look at Peloton. I mean, I think that's a pretty obvious example where COVID, certainly spiked their growth, but it also caused a deep decline. How many Peloton bikes are people going to purchase? And especially as they get back to their more normal routines. The second one would be around technology. So first one I would say would be around revenues. Second one would be around technology. And there's a lot of pieces to that. But if you've got a team of people that are working remotely and maybe even globally, and maybe even you don't know where they're working, cybersecurity and your whole mechanisms for how your processes work from a technology standpoint are going to be much more important today than they were in the past, because we got so many loose pieces where you don't necessarily know where bad actors may be able to have access to your files or data within your company that or just have ransoms, where they lock you up. So the whole IT, cybersecurity, how you're handling that and how people are working, especially if you've got teams of people that are working remotely. A couple other parts that I would mention would be around thinking around, the legal structure of the organization. Are there, have they been responsible on compliance? And especially when maybe things have changed a little bit because maybe they've got, let me give you a classic example. Well, you've got remote workers that are working in Florida, but you're in New York City. Where should taxes be paid? You've got issues with people. Are they actually an employee or a W-2 employee, or are they a 1099 contract? Just some of those, that whole kind of piece of the legal and compliance and, are things, really being done and have they been done correctly? And of course, embedded in that is tax. But there's more of an emphasis on that because there's more complexity with how people are operating and doing business. I'll tell you, I was in a meeting this week in Chicago, and one of the key issues that came up was SALT, state and local taxes. Have they actually been in compliance because they've got multiple locations and people and things going on from that standpoint. And then the last one I would mention would be the people. Where are these people? And are they really working on these projects? And do you have, a good team of people that can continue to grow this business? And in addition to that, what if we're going to grow this business? How easy is it going to be to get more people? Or what are we going to need to do to bring more people in if that's going to be, an important part of our ingredient? We may have the demand, but do we have the people to actually deliver? And what's the ability to be able to from an infrastructure standpoint and kind of a process standpoint, to bring more people on? So those are some of the key things that we have been really noticing highlighted because of COVID, beyond just the kind of traditional normal due diligence kinds of things that can be a challenge for any business.
So let's talk a little bit about Capstone's commitment to the community. I saw that you've got a program called Capstone Cares. Can you share what your involvement in that?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. So we started probably now 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, a whole philanthropic arm. We did it a little bit spontaneously in the past, and we really found that there was a lot of interest within the company to be more intentional about this and be more kind of focused on how we're going to go about doing this. And so one of the first things that we've done, and we will be having our third annual one this year, is a food drive. Especially during the pandemic, what we noticed was there was a lot of food insecurity in our local community. And we feel like it's important to give back to our local communities where we all live and work. And so we started a food drive. We have people from literally all over the world, our clients and associates and people that we work with, that were able to really help contribute either financially or through an Amazon wish list. And then we brought food to several different food banks in our local area. But in addition to that, we've done very targeted kinds of initiatives. And I'll give you an example of one where we had, I'm going to stick with the food insecurity. So there's a local elementary school that's near us, and we had heard that there were some issues with food insecurity because kids weren't able to go to school and be part of the lunch program. So we did a fundraiser, and we found out how many families were impacted, and we did a fundraiser, and we raised money to be able to purchase gift cards so that all of those families would be able to have enough money for not less than a month to be able to purchase food. And so we're always, trying to be intentional about saying, hey, where can we have an impact in our local community, and not have it just be hey, we send a check in, kind of thing, but things that we can actually get involved in and feel a part of. And I'll tell you, I think it's been a really powerful part of being part of our community. And I think our staff here has really jumped in both feet on this one, and I'm very proud of that.
So, David, is there any part of the Capstone or David Braun story that you'd like to share with us that you haven't shared so far in this interview?
No, I think, thank you for all the thoughtful questions. I think in general, one of the things for people to be thinking about in this time of, kind of uncertainty, what I always try to remind people is that, we always have uncertainty. We had the financial crisis of 08 and 09. We've had um, labor challenges before. We've had riots. We've had oil embargoes. We always, we've had natural disasters. There's always going to be something. And I think right now we're in an environment, especially as we're coming through the pandemic, but we're not through it completely. There's still, I think, a really fresh opportunity for companies to take a look at what they do and think very strategically about what are you going to do next? How do we learn from this, and what kinds of things can we do differently? Our clients expect it, our customers expect it, our employees expect it, our banks expect it. I think we have a much more inviting environment to dabble, to try new things, to be open to new ways of doing business, and whether that's through partnering with another company through an acquisition or other means. But I just encourage people to not miss this opportunity of thinking about how you can position your company for the future, not just kind of relying on what you've done in the past. And don't miss this opportunity would be what I would say. And that's one of the areas that we're very excited about. Everything we're focused on now is what we call Vision 2030. Where are we headed? And let's be very clear and lifting our heads up and spending some time thinking about the future. Because I'll tell you, I think for most of us, the past 2.5 years have been a bit of a grind of, keeping the trains running and making sure the wheels don't fall off, and lots of moving parts. So I just encourage people to be very hopeful and optimistic about the opportunities, because I think there is an abundance of them, quite frankly.
Well, David, I want to thank you for sharing your story and Capstone's story. We wish you the best of luck and keep us apprised as you continue to do deals and make an impact on your community.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to be with you today.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.